See you. We've been sending healing. Good. Okay, everybody likes my title, right? So this is where I got it. In the Lakota Nation, there's an old saying that roughly translates, when in the course of battle, the horse you're riding dies, the best strategy is to dismount. Sometimes we don't do that. We try to solve the problem by getting a bigger whip. Or we fire the rider and hire a rider with more imagination. Or we appoint a team to make a study and write a manual on all the ways to ride a dead horse. Or we simply affirm, no horse is too dead to ride. I mean, it's funny, yeah, but look inside. Tell me there's not some dead horse you're riding. But really, are we not, all of us in the course of our lives, doing that very thing? Beating a dead horse? The very definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and over and over and expect a different result. No, no, no. Really, the best time to get on to the solution is before that horse goes belly up. Here at Harmony Spiritual Center, this is what we teach. We teach how to find solutions. We're a teaching center of being practical in our use of spiritual principles and energetic principles. And that's what we want for everybody, to have a more abundant life. And the way to do it is not do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We learn to use a creative force in being problem solvers. So how many times do you try to solve the problem with the same thing, tribal memories that you have of how Mama said how to solve it? We're trying to uplift that consciousness to a higher level and learn to connect with creative solutions. We learn about a consistent meditative practice so we can open our channel of communication with Spirit, because that's where creativity lies. We are co-creators with the Divine Spirit. And all we have to do is connect with that and make it so habitual that we come into things with a higher answer. We learn that change your mind, change your life. That is, wherever we are, whether it's a baby step or just a basic understanding of spiritual principles, or just the total knowing of how to do this. You know what? All those concepts are truth, but until you put feet to your desire, it's just a BS theory, right? So I think about the gardener who had this beautiful garden. I mean, it had winding paths, beautiful green lawns, flowers. Oh, excuse me, folks. If you got it, flaunt it. Excuse me while I take charge of the situation. Thank you. Just trying to get some attention here. Okay, back to the gardener. So he's got this beautiful garden. He's got this winding path and flower beds and vegetables and shrubs and trees. And it's a real long, narrow garden, but it's filled with everything, but yet neat and calm and peaceful. So his minister comes over to visit. And the minister is so impressed, and he says, "Look what God has wrought." And the gardener says, "Yeah? You should have seen it when God had it by himself. You know, and that's not sacrilegious either. This is God's intent to give us the raw material and learn how to become co-creators. It's a partnership. And it comes from divine downloads, really. Mary Daly says, it's a creative potential in itself in human beings that is the image of God. Stella Mann says, we've got to accept the responsibility of being a child of God. And that's how to learn to use everything that's available to us to reach a higher decision. There's always a spiritual answer. So that's when we finally get to be in the highest, most useful mode, when we're downloading from Spirit and being that channel of creativity to solve a conundrum. It's there for us. God gives us the raw material, and we get to express however creativity looks through our filter. If it's a group and you're on some kind of a committee, it's all of you together, and in there somewhere is the seed of an answer. That's that brief window of time before the horse goes belly up to try to receive that download from the universe that can solve the problem. You know, if you're in a personal creative slump, this is a book we've studied here, and I would recommend it highly. It's The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. It's a spiritual path to higher creativity. And for this purpose of this lesson, I'm going to take some of the things out of there that are action activities. Act. It's in the word all along. Activity, action. It's an action verb. That's what we've got to be, the action verb. You got to put feet to it. So these are some of the things that get you out of the chair and into action. There's a lot of other things that she does that you get to be contemplative about it. These are some of the action things she says. Every morning, get up a half an hour earlier and write a page or two of stream of consciousness. The first thing that comes into your mind. It's not for anybody else to see. You just put it in a notebook, a manila envelope, and you accumulate. And then you can go over it and see where your train of thought is taking you. Is there a direction? But it gives you inspiration on knowing where to go. Another thing that she talks about is list 5 major activities that you did the prior week. Doesn't matter what, the 5 things that you did that had the most impact on your life. You know, it could have been I did all the laundry. But look at it and see how many of those activities are for somebody else. Did you forget that you're the center of your universe? It's wonderful to do things for someone else, but you can't be a servant and let yourself dissolve. You've got to find that self to have the filter through which creativity flows. And if you've lost touch with that part of yourself, then you're just doing the same old thing day after day after day, and you've lost that spark of living. Another thing she suggests is to list, this is before you can read and write, 5 traits that described you as a little guy. And then you can sort of see where your hidden talents are. One of my activities that I did was to get under the bushes and everything, and I would take sticks and little pieces of board and matchboxes, and I would make a village for the bugs. So I did. So I was already becoming a creative mind in the building industry. My whole expression was just getting to tell Glenn what to do. But that was my talent. Another thing I did, which never manifested, I did surgery on all the dolls. I don't know how I knew to do that, but I was, in my mind, doing surgery, fixing them up. That never manifested. But you each had 5 child or more traits that, looking back, what was your gift? What is your talent? Now's the time to indulge yourself. You've got to give importance to you before you can uplift somebody else. One of the things that I do now to get out of a slump and that I'm just stuck in something, because I do have a practice of meditation, and that's what we teach here at Harmony Spiritual Center, is meditate, 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 to open that channel so that it's always with you. The definition, by the way, of a mystic is seeing God in everything. That God is always there. So in meditation, you're making that something that's habitual. But when I get jammed up and I can't think of where to go, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with preparing a sermon or writer's block. Sometimes it's in a painting I'm doing or something more, or even just finding a solution of how to reorganize my closet. But if I can't think of something to do and it's just like I'm a blank, then for a few days, or maybe it's one day, and I'll go through the day and I'd say, God, give me a word. Doesn't matter what the word is, and I'll write it down, and then at the end of the time, and I look at my words, it could be shovel, it could be astronaut, it doesn't matter. But more than not, there's a pattern developing. And you can do this in a group meeting. Tell your people to do this, like before you get to the meeting, and come to the meeting with this week of words, and see if there's a uniform connection that's coming from the divine that you never thought of before. There's a solution that's more creative than you could have imagined in your humdrum world. So what I'm saying is just keep calling on that spirit. Rebecca does this in her artwork. It just comes, it comes, and it comes, and it comes. And we can do this with our ordinary life's problems. In every religion, there's a basis, there's some kind of meditative prayer practice whose hidden purpose is to make a climate of comfort in being with or contacting the divine energy. That it's in every religion. So that's telling me that God must become an activity. Once again, get busy, put action to what you're thinking. I remember myself as a young newlywed of 18 years old, and I was suddenly thrust into being the financial guru of our little family. Well, honey, that was so far from the truth. I put us in all sorts of bad situations of overdrafts and this or that because I didn't know about real life. So I'd married into a Catholic family, and so the priest suggested this practice of making a novena. Now, if you're not Catholic and you don't know what this is, I believe, I may be mistaken, but I think I remember that the word novena is Latin for 9. I mean, this could be totally off base, but somehow that's what I remember. So what you do, you make an appointment with God for the same time every day for 9 days, and you do your supplicative prayer. And so in retrospect, it took a long time for it to get my answer, by the way. 40 years later, Glenn came into my life and made me get some financial sense. I was really slow. But anyway, what this did, now from this retrospect of understanding spiritual energy, it made that an important thing within you, that you honored God by making the appointment every day, 9 days, and then it made your prayer prominent, and it put it in your mind, and so you were sort of opening yourself up for that. And I'm sure that in Buddhism, in the Jewish religion, everything, there's some sort of thing that trains you to have that connection with God. So Dr. Joe Dispenza tells us this: knowledge is for the mind and experience is for the body. How we establish an organic mind-body connection is to embed the experience and the action into our very cellular body, so that the marriage of mind and body can occur. You know, this is also what cursive writing does for the mind, and we're losing that you have that, it makes it a flow of the mind-body connection. And now when the children write in block letters, that flow is chopped up. I can't explain that to the principal, but that's what it does. But this is what we teach at Harmony, to go to a place for answers that are beyond the physical world. We do this over and over with meditation. We meditate on whatever the issue might be. But we don't have the corner on this market. It doesn't mean you only have to go to a New Thought church and learn about meditation and everything. People all over the world who are by nature creative and seekers of spiritual energy and making that connection. I mean, they could be a total atheist, but yet they connect with spirit and feel that creativity flow. I'm thinking of Mr. Singer, John Singer, I think his name was, that invented the sewing machine. And he had this conundrum of how to make the thread connect with the bobbin thread in the sewing machine. And he had so many prototypes, but yet one night in a dream, it came to him to put the hole in the needle down at the bottom at the sharp end. So then when the needle goes down and penetrates the fabric, it lifts that bobbin thread back up with it. And that was so counterintuitive, because hand sewing, the hole is at the other end. So he got that answer from spirit just about the time he was going to kill off this, what he thought was a great idea of making sewing easier for the ladies. But yet at the last moment that came into his mind. Or like General Patton. I mean, he's famous for using his intuition and his dreams for battlefield decisions. It happens all the time. We just have to accept that we can do that. And that's what we teach here, how to connect with creativity, with the divine source. You know, if we strive for superhuman production, we need to go beyond the same old corporate questions, coming up with the same answers that our tribe taught us, because that's not the answer. That again is insanity. So let's be inspired to get that horse going before it dies. But you know what? Sometime the horse just dies. I think about this golfer guy. Oh man, this guy retired and he was so excited he was going to get to play golf every day. He got himself outfitted up. He got his little shirt and his little knicker pants, and he was just Mr. Golfer. And every day he went off to the golf course and did his thing. And Mrs. Golfer was so happy because she got to vacuum and do her things without him there. So it was just a perfect solution. And he just came home so happy every day until one day. He comes home and his shirt tail's tucked out. He's got dirt on his face. He's got mud on his cleats. He just is a mess. And he comes in and she said, "Oh, what happened to you? You look awful." He said, "It was fine. It was just fine until the 13th hole. And then Harry had a heart attack. The rest of the match, it was hit the ball, drag Harry, hit the ball, drag Harry. You think that's funny? How many Harrys are you dragging around? Right? You've got one somewhere. I know you do. I've got one. But sometimes we hold on to that hoarded emotion and old ideas of how things should be. For God's sakes, let go of Harry. You know, sometimes, this is what Warren Buffett tells us, sometimes things can't be patched. In a chronically leaking boat, energy devoted to changing vessels is more productive than energy devoted to patching leaks. Now, you've got to know which one you're with. You know, maybe it's better or more economical because you only need that boat for another week, so patch that leak. Sometimes you've got to change the vessel. When I think of vessel, I think it's a vessel of ideas. It's not to be ugly to a person, but change your thinking. Change your thinking, change your life. Another thing to do that, for me, in this list of things, it's the most important, is for goodness sakes, do something to put these creative ideas that you've geniused up into being. You can't just sit there and think, I've got this genius idea, and then you sit there and dream about it, you think about it. Get up and do something about it. Energy begets energy in the spirit world. Energy begets energy. It signals the universe that you're taking action. It signals the universe that this is important to you. And then energy rushes in, because that's a law. It's an energetic law. Energy rushes in to assist you. But it can't do that for you. You've got to send the signal out that this is important. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a mistake, but do something. You know it's a mistake. Then you think, well, I know that this idea will work. How can I approach it differently? But you're doing something. And then creative energy is right there in your brain saying, well, do it this way, do it this way. Challenge destiny by signaling that something new is happening now. There's no right action, there's no wrong action. It's the movement that's important. If you're inspired with a creative idea that has promise, act on it. Signal the universe. Creativity expands when it's being used. You know, if you want to walk on water, get out of the boat. There's nothing new ever. So what we have been reminded of today, it's not new stuff. You know, you know this. You knew it before I even started talking. Number one, sometimes solutions of relationships no longer serve us. Let it go. Go beyond what we've learned as a human on this planet, that whatever old-fashioned idea that mom told you your shoelaces had to be tied in a different way, or just this is the only way that this shoelace can be tied. Well, it's not. But be inspired and go to the higher self for an answer. And number 3 is put feet to your ideas. Energy begets energy. So that's what we learn here at Harmony Spiritual Center. We teach you the steps of implementing miracles. You know what the Course in Miracles says? A miracle is simply a change in perception. Miracle's always there. You have to change how you perceive things. But baby steps first. Just the first thing is, just get out of the dang boat. Namaste.